Hello and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Bernlohr Stadium. It is senior day here at Bernlohr as the Capital Women's Soccer program gets set to play host to the Blue Streaks of John Carroll. Again, the senior class going to be honored here in Bexley today, and a special ceremony taking place on the field before today's match between John Carroll and Capital. For that, we will send it to the public address announcer, Ryan Gasser.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Permort Field at Bernlohr Stadium. Before we get today's action underway, it's a very special day here at Capital, where we celebrate the careers of 12 individuals who will be participating in their final regular season soccer match of their careers here at Capital University. We're going to get right into it with our first senior, who hails from Orlando, Florida, goalkeeper number 0, Alexis Brand. Alexis has appeared in 25 matches, starting in 10 of those. Over the course of her career, she has compiled 65 saves, along with a 4-5 overall record. In her sophomore year, Alexis was named Academic All-OAC, and she's on pace to do the same this year. That same year, she made a career-high 12 saves against 7th-ranked Carnegie Mellon. Brand is working towards a degree in psychology with a minor in biology. She is accompanied by her parents, Stephen and Juana. Ladies and gentlemen, Alexis Brand. Next, we have Sunbury, Ohio native, goaltender number 1, Jordan Lyle. The two-time Academic All-OAC honoree has appeared in 10 matches while making 3 saves over the course of her collegiate career. She's appeared in the second half of this past Tuesday's victory over Marietta College and also recorded a save in that match. Jordan double dips as an athlete here at Cap, as she's also a standout pole vaulter on the women's track and field team. She majors in criminology and psychology, and today is escorted by her parents, Teresa and Tracy. Ladies and gentlemen, Jordan Lyle. Third in our senior day lineup is midfielder from Canal, Winchester, number 2, Jenna Zuberi. Zuberi has participated in 37 matches for the Purple and the White, registering 8 career shots, 5 of which of those were on goal. All 3 of her career starts came this season, most recently on October 12th against Muskingum and on October 15th against the University of Mount Union. As a sophomore, Jenna received Academic All-OAC honors. She will receive her degree in Spanish at the end of this academic year. She is escorted by her parents, Museret and Stacy. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Jenna Zuberi. Our next senior is a midfielder from Coto de Caza, California, number 5, Claire Quinn. Earning honorable mention All-OAC as a freshman, Quinn has made an impact on the women's soccer program since she stepped foot here on campus. Claire has shown improvement every season, earning third-team All-OAC as a sophomore before making second-team as a junior. Her junior season, she finished 4th in the conference with 7 assists and 3rd on the team with 45 shots. This season, Quinn ranks 4th on the team with 4 goals and is in the midst of a 3-game stretch in which she has scored a goal. Claire is an accounting major and is escorted by her parents Tom and Tori. Ladies and gentlemen, Claire Quinn. Next up is a forward from Temecula, California, number 8, Becca Cartmill. The 3-time first-team All-OAC honoree has put together a decorated career in the Purple and the White. As a freshman, Becca's play received national attention after she led the OAC and ranked 34th in the nation in goals, with 10 assists. She was also named third team NSCAA Division III All-Great Lakes region. She followed up her freshman year with a sophomore season in which she was tabbed first team All-Ohio, the first of 3 All-Ohio laurels in her career. This season, Becca has contributed to Capital's success in multiple ways, leading the team in 16 points, 6 goals, and 4 assists. Cartmill majors in criminology and sociology with a minor in psychology. She is escorted by her parents Randall and Marie, and making a surprise guest appearance is her sister Rachel. Ladies and gentlemen, Becca Cartmill. Sixth in the senior day lineup is a native of Ronkonkoma, New York, number 12, Jennifer Van Deventer. Jennifer is a transfer from Eastern University and has spent each of the last 2 seasons donning the purple and the white. In 24 matches, Jennifer has tallied 17 shots, 12 of those on goal, has recorded 6 points and 3 goals. She received her first Capital start in a 3-0 victory against Marietta this past Tuesday. Jennifer is studying athletic training here at Cap and is a member of the athletic training club as well. Today, she is escorted by her parents, Mark and Rochelle. Ladies and gentlemen, Jennifer Vandeventer. Our next senior to be recognized is from Sydney, Ohio, number 14, Monique Hanike. Monique has been a contributor to Capital's program since her freshman year, playing in 82 matches, starting in all but 1 contest over the last 2 seasons. After making second team All-OAC as a forward, as a junior, Hanike has made the switch to defense this season, but that has not kept Monique and her offensive presence, as she has put together a 3-game stretch in which she has scored a goal. Her 3 goals currently ranks her 5th on the team, and she has also tallied an assist on September 27th against Ohio Wesleyan. Monique will earn a degree in business management with a minor in sport management. She is escorted by her parents, Kevin and Stacy. Ladies and gentlemen, Monique Hanike. Our next honored Crusader hails from St. Clairsville, Ohio, defender number 16, Haley Skukan. In 13 appearances, Haley has registered 3 shots, 2 of those on goal, equaling a 66.7% on-goal percentage. She made her lone career start and assist last season on the final goal of a 7-0 blowout against Muskingum University. Skukan has also been involved off of the soccer field, shaping Capital University as a part of its student government. She will earn her degree in biology with a minor in psychology. Today, she is accompanied by her parents, Jeff and Kim. Ladies and gentlemen, Haley Skukan. Next, we have a defender from Fairfield, Ohio, number 24, Jackie Kelly. The 2-time academic All-OAC honoree has appeared in 40 matches over the course of her collegiate career. She has taken 14 shots, 1 of those resulting in a goal. Her lone career goal came when she was a freshman in a 5-0 triumph over Marietta. Jackie is pursuing a degree in nursing with hopes to become a pediatric nurse practitioner. She is escorted by her parents, John and Debbie. Ladies and gentlemen, Jackie Kelly. Our next Crusader we'd like to recognize is number 25, Kathy Connor. The Mason, Ohio native has played in 47 matches, starting in 6 for the Purple and White. Connor has a game-winning goal in her career stat line, which was scored in last season's match against Fredonia State. That same year, Kathy registered a career-high 18 shots on the season. She tallied 4 and a 9-2 win over Defiance College, a single-game career high. Connor is working towards a degree in nursing as we speak. She is escorted by her parents, Bill and Chris. Ladies and gentlemen, Kathy Connor! Our next senior is from Pataskala, Ohio, number 29, Melissa Spurbeck. As a defender, Melissa has contributed on the back end in 27 different matches. As a junior, Spurbeck was named Academic All-OAC. Her lone shot that season came against Defiance College in a win. Melissa hopes to earn her degree in pre-physical therapy and athletic training. After graduation, she plans on working toward her doctorate degree in physical therapy. She is accompanied by her parents, Kevin and Martha. Ladies and gentlemen, Melissa Spurbeck. Last but certainly not least, we bring to the field from Highland Heights, Ohio, number 31, Kylie Tritt. Kylie has competed in 45 matches for the Crusaders. As a defender, Tritt seldom received a chance for a shot, but she was accurate when the opportunity presented itself with 4 shots on goal on 5 total shot taken. The senior majors in mathematics with a minor in sociology. Her career ambition is to become a mechanical engineer. She is escorted by her parents, Bill and Karen. Ladies and gentlemen, Kylie Tritt! Together, this class has earned 3 straight OAC tournament championships and has amassed a 47, 22, and 6 overall record, and an even more outstanding 26, 5, and 2 record in OAC competition. In 2015, this class played a vital role in Capital finishing with an undefeated conference record for the first time in program history. They've also earned 3 trips to the NCAA Division III Women's Soccer Tournament, emerging victorious in 3 NCAA matches. As freshmen, they contributed to a team that advanced all the way to the national semifinals. Altogether, the class of 2017 is comprised of 9 academic All-OAC honorees, 7 All-OAC selections, 5 All-Ohio picks, and 2 All-Region honorees. And before we leave you, we can't replicate the accent, but here is a message from Coach Ogden to our seniors. It is with great pride that we send this group of seniors off into the next chapter of their lives. From the moment my staff and I were hired, you embraced us and led the way in adapting to a different training philosophy. Your adaptability enabled us to make history last year by being the first Capital women's soccer team to ever go undefeated in the OAC, and for that you will always be remembered. This group embodies the definition of excellence and will leave behind a mark on this program that we hope future classes will strive to emulate. Their hard work shines through in everything that they do. Their dedication is unwavering, and their heart and love for this game and their teammates is remarkable. I wish each of you the very best in your future endeavors. I know that you will have a positive impact on the lives you touch and the people you encounter. How do I know this? Because I have experienced it for myself. Remember, some of life's best moments. Live outside of your comfort zone. Be brave. Take chances and dream big. I will miss you dearly. Let's give a big round of applause for the Capital University class of 2017, Alexis Brand, Jordan Ryle, Jenna Zuberi, Claire Quinn, Becca Cartmill, Jennifer Vandeventer, Monique Kanaik, Haley Skukan, Jackie Kelly, Kathy Connor, Melissa Spurbeck, and Kylie Tritt. We wish you the best as you play your final game as Cap Crusaders. And before we get that game underway, we have one last little surprise for our senior class. Will you direct your attention to the video board?
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Crusaders pregame show. Senior day for the Capital women's soccer program. Today, the Crusaders playing host to the Blue Streaks of John Carroll this afternoon. Joining me now is the head coach of the Capital women's soccer program. That'd be Matt Ogden. Coach, 3-0 win over Marietta on Tuesday. 3 goals in the first half leads to an eventual victory. It had to be nice to get off to a nice start like that.
Yeah, it was. You know, I think one of the comments that we've been making in the last couple of games, you know, really all season is, you know, we've had probably the territorial advantage on opponents. We've definitely outshot a lot of our opponents, and you know, for whatever reason that we haven't quite figured out yet, the ball hasn't always gone in the back of the net. You know, but the pleasing thing is the forwards have never stopped. They continue to press, and you know, it was nice that on the midweek game that those goals went in early and allowed us to relax a little bit, I think.
And with the win, 4-1-1 in conference play, second in the OAC. How do you think your team has done in conference play to this point?
I think we've been really good. You know, we made a point early on in the season to play a challenging schedule so that we are a little bit more road tested, and I think that's helped us a lot. It's definitely helped us grow. You know, we were disappointed not to get 3 points against Mount Union. We definitely tried our very best in that game, but you know, it didn't go in, so we dropped that point. You know, obviously Ohio Northern is a good game, but again, you know, it's not an opponent where, you know, I'm afraid to play against them again. You know, that game could have gone in our direction just as easy as they got the results. So, you know, pleased with what we're doing. You know, we're continually making improvements. You know, our style, our confidence is continuing to grow. So, yeah, we're in a good place.
We're talking with Capital Women's Soccer head coach Matt Ogden here on the Crusaders pregame show. I want to talk about Carolyn Hester just for a second here. She seems like every time I watch her, she's making big plays for your team. 3 goals, 2 assists to this point in the season. What does Hester mean to your team?
Carroll's just big on and off the field. She's a wonderful person. She has a lovely character. She's well respected by her teammates, and on the field she's really starting to deliver. She's scored, like you said, she's scored some big goals, and she may not be one of the the flashy players that jumps out at you, but when she's not playing, you just miss her physical presence, and she's really embraced that attacking mindset from the midfield, and not just passing on to the forward and standing, but breaking lines and getting into goal scoring positions. And thankfully, she's hit a couple of really important goals for us. So hopefully, she feels confident from that, and that continues to be the trend in the latter part of the season.
Coach, I mentioned earlier that it's senior day today. One of the seniors, Monique, one of your senior defenders on the team. Is it true to say that she's the backbone of your defensive backline?
It's funny you say that, because for the last 3 years, Monique's been an integral part of the front line. She's been scoring goals and creating goals on a regular basis. So, Monique is, epitomizing what we believe in as a team, and making personal sacrifices to, best fit the team. And, coming into it, we knew we had a gap to fill in Mariah's absence, and, it wasn't an easy task. Monique is just a good all-round soccer player. She's very good on the ball, and the type of centre-backs and outside backs I desire are confident on the ball, creative and technically proficient. And Monique ticks all those boxes, and not only has she been good in possession, she's been very good in shutting down opponents, and has come up with some big goals of herself. So she's been a great addition to that back line, but it just shows you how well versatile she is in the game.
We're talking with head coach Matt Ogden here on the Crusaders pregame show. Capital taking on John Carroll today. Let's talk about the Blue Streaks, coach. 6-4-6 overall, 3-1-2 overall in conference play. How would you describe the Blue Streaks?
They're very good at drawing games. I've watched them a couple of times, and I admire the way they play. Every coach has got a different mindset of what you want to see your team looking like, and he reminds me a lot of what we try and do. He passes out the back, he passes through midfield, so I'm expecting it to be a really good game. I think one of their things is he's maybe not been able to rely on consistency, but they've had some really big results over the course of their season, and it's definitely an opponent that we put a lot of respect in, and we understand that it's going to be a very difficult game. And if we're not up to the task today, they're very, very capable of taking points from us today. So I'm looking forward to the game.
And finally, coach, senior day here at Byrne-Lohr Stadium. What has the senior class meant to the program?
They've been magic. I mean, they've been massive. I mean, they've probably been the most successful group of kids that have come through here. 3 years in a row making it to a national tournament. We hope that we can send them off in the right way by making that 4-4 and doing something that nobody else has done, going through the program's history. They've only made history last year by being involved in the first group going undefeated, and they've just got a lot of individual accolades, on the field, in the classroom, and we'll definitely have a period of adjustment once these guys exit and go off into the next phase of their careers.
All right, Coach, we'll get a win for the seniors today, will you?
That's the plan. Thank you.
All right, Coach. That was Matt Ogden. Join us here on the Crusaders pregame show. We'll have much more coming up from Byrne-Lohr Stadium after this break.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Coach.
For today's OAC women's soccer match between the John Carroll.
Well, welcome everybody back to Byrne-Lohr Stadium. As we have been talking about today, it is senior day here in Bexley for the Capital Women's Soccer program. Let's now send it down to the field for starting lineups.
6-4-6, 3-1-2 in the OAC. Beginning with the goalkeeper, number 0.
Well, actually, I can go ahead and give you the starting lineups today myself. By the way, my name is Charlie Danis. I'll be bringing the action today from a rather cold and chilly Bexley this afternoon. Let's start with the visiting John Carroll Blue Streaks. Their head coach is Michael Marich in his 5th year at the helm for the Blue Streaks. Starting in goal for John Carroll will be Rihanna Ganera, a 5'3 junior from Chesterland, Ohio. At forward, Katie O'Donnell, a junior from Twinsburg, Ohio. Also at forward, a 5'8 sophomore from Canfield, Ohio, number 7, Bailey Fisher. At defender will be the 5'5 senior from Dublin, Ohio, number 8, Dre Regrut. Also at forward for John Carroll, the 5'2 freshman from Hinckley, Ohio, number 10, Jacqueline Audino. At midfield will be the 5'5 junior from Kent, Ohio, number 11, Justina Fortson. At midfield will be the 5'6 sophomore from Brecksville, Ohio, number 15, Acadia Polacco. Also at midfield will be the 5'4 sophomore from Irwin, Pennsylvania, number 17, Maddie Fisher. At defender will be the 5'6 sophomore from Wadsworth, Ohio, number 18, Samantha Subi. At defender will be the 5'5 senior from Mentor, Ohio, number 21, Maria Ploplis. And that rounds out the starting lineup for John Carroll. Now the starting lineup for Capital. All of them seniors, obviously, because it is senior day here at Bernlohr. Starting in goal will be the 5'8 senior from Orlando, Florida, number 0, Alexa Brand. At midfield will be the 5'3 senior from Canal, Winchester, Ohio, number 2, Jenna Zuberi. At midfield will be the 5'5 senior from Coto de Casa, California. That will be number 5, Claire Quinn. At forward will be the 5'1 senior from Temecula, California, number 8, Becca Cartmill. At forward will be the 5'5 senior from Ronkonkoma, New York, number 12, Jennifer Van Deventer. At defender will be the 5'10 senior from Sydney, Ohio, number 14, Monique Hanike. At defender will be the 5'3 senior from St. Clairsville, Ohio, number 16, Haley Skukan. At defender will be the 5'6 senior from Fairfield, Ohio, Jackie Kelly. At midfield, the 5'6 senior from Mason, Ohio, Kathy Connor. And then rounding out the starting line for Capital, both at the defender's spots, the 5'2 senior from Pataska, Ohio, Melissa Spurbeck, and the 5'5 senior from Highland Heights, Ohio, Kylie Tripp. And now let us pause for the playing of our national anthem. We're now ready for some women's soccer here at Bernlohr Stadium. Again, a very special day here in Bexley. Today is senior day for the Crusaders. They honored the careers of 12 student athletes before today's game. They would be Alexis Brand, Jordan Lyle, Jenna Zuberi, Claire Quinn, Becca Cartmill, Jennifer Van Deventer, Monique Hanike, Haley Skukan, Jackie Kelly, Kathy Connor, Melissa Spurbeck, and finally, but certainly not least, Kylie Tripp. Capital coming off of a 3-0 win over Marietta on Tuesday. And from the beginning, Capital put the match out of reach in the first half. Claire Quinn kicked the scoring off with a goal scored on a free kick. The purple and white then added 2 goals in a span of 5 minutes from Mary Bushy and Becca Cartmill. And Capital's defense did the rest of the work. They secured the shutout victory by allowing the Pioneers just 3 total shots in the second half. Capital enters play today with an overall record of 7-6-1 and a 4-1-1 mark within OAC play. Meanwhile, John Carroll 6-4-6 overall, 3-1-2 within conference play. The standings within the OAC entering play today look like this. Ohio Northern is 5-1 in the conference. That is best within the OAC, good for first place. Capital right behind with a 4-1-1 mark. Third place, Baldwin-Wallace. John Carroll, they find themselves tied with Mount Union for fourth place within the OAC. We have gotten things kicked off here at Bernlohr Stadium. Underway. A very chilly day here in Bexley as it is starting to feel more and more like fall as we continue to get into the latter stages of the month of October. Sunshine will appear periodically throughout the day, but otherwise temperatures are basically going to be stuck in the low 50s. The temperature is supposed to dip into the low 40s later on this evening, and this comes after we had some very hot weather come through central Ohio earlier this week. In fact, when Capital was playing Marietta on Tuesday, I believe that the temperature was in the high 70s, so quite a turn of events weather-wise here in central Ohio, as the kick is gathered up by Rihanna Ganera, 5'3" junior from Chesterland, Ohio. John Carroll goes on the attack early. Leading the charge, Bailey Fisher. Fisher will go into the corner, crossing it to the middle, but a nice job defensively by Jackie Kelly as she got in the way of the cross. It goes out of bounds. It'll be a John Carroll throw-in early on. Just underway here at Bernlohr Stadium. Despite the frigid temperatures, a pretty good crowd here at Bernlohr. Here on a Saturday afternoon. Cloudy skies overhead. Again, we expect the sun to make a few peaks here and there, as Capital does a nice job clearing it. Claire Quinn getting it out of there for Capital, as now the Crusaders will look to advance the ball here a little bit. Haley Skookham down the near side. Now they go to the middle. Becca Cartmill doing her thing. She still has the ball. Making up a lot of room. Shot and a save made by Ganera. Ganera diving to her right. And making the save for John Carroll. Scoreless between Capital and John Carroll, as I mentioned, just underway here at Bernlohr Stadium. Capital's football team also in action right now, and that game started at about 1:30. They have just started play in the second quarter of that game. John Carroll leading the Crusaders 14-0. Capital coming off of a 45-0 loss to Mount Union last Saturday, so the Crusaders looking to bounce back. They are now tied with Otterbein for third place within the OAC, and we will keep you updated as updates come our way about that football game being played up in Northeast Ohio. Meanwhile, back to our match here as the wind continues to blow. Continues to be very chilly here in Bexley, Ohio. Looking at the flag in the south end zone, it's blowing rather rapidly, and I see the trees throughout the neighborhood. The branches, the limbs, the leaves all shivering and quaking with the wind passing through here Bexley. Hanike with a strong boot back into John Carroll territory. The problem is it went out of bounds. So now this will be a John Carroll throw-in. The Blue Streaks started off the season with a couple of losses. Opened the season at number 5 center, lost 2-0. Followed that up with a 4-0 loss to DePauw. Making a nice move in the open field, but the save is going to be made eventually by Alexis Brand. Some nice moves being featured by Bailey Fisher. As I mentioned, John Carroll, they lost their first 2 games. 2-0 shutout to number 5 center. A 4-0 shutout to DePauw. Got on the board with a win against Worcester back on September 7th. Followed that up with a tie at Thomas More They lost to Hanover on the road, then a couple of wins against Hiram and Kenyon. And then it was tie city for John Carroll. 2-2 tie at Denison. 1-1 tie versus Carnegie Mellon. 1-1 tie versus Case Western Reserve. A 0-0 tie between John Carroll and Wilmington. They finally got on the board with a win, 5-0 over Heidelberg. Tied Marietta 2-2. Beat Baldwin Wallace 2-0 back on October 12th. Lost to Ohio Northern 3-1. And they are coming off of a 1-0 victory at Otterbein. That taking place back on October the 18th. Action in the midfield early on. Hanijk will now feed it ahead to Van de Venter. Van de Venter nearly loses the ball, but is able to regain it for Capital, as the Crusaders try to get something going here offensively. Meanwhile, for Capital, started off the season with 4 straight losses, although some of the teams that they took on, pretty strong ball clubs, opened with a 1-0 loss to number 10 Wisconsin Whitewater, followed that up with a 3-0 loss to number 9 Thomas More, and then some more losses, a 3-2 defeat at the hands of DePauw, and a 2-1 defeat at the hands of Wittenberg. But then they got some wins going. 5-0 win over Waynesburg on September 17th. A 3-0 win over Kenyon. As now John Carroll will look to push it here. They get it ahead to Fisher. Fisher, their leading goal scorer with 8 goals on the season. Also has 2 assists. That all adds up to 18 points on the season. Ball will go out of bounds, and it'll be John Carroll ball. The win started coming for Capital around September 17th. 5-0 win over Waynesburg. 3-0 win over Kenyon. Dropped a 4-2 game to Hanover. Beat OWUW 4-1 back on September 27th. 2-0 win over Otterbein. 5-0 win over Wilmington. 1-0 loss to Ohio Northern, ranked number 21 in the latest rankings back on the 8th. 3-1 win over Muskingum. 2-2 tie over Mount Union, at Mount Union. That was back on the 15th. And as you heard on the top of the broadcast, Capital coming off of a 3-0 win over Marietta on Tuesday. So Capital, at the very least, trying to keep pace with Ohio Northern, who leads the OAC with a 5-1 mark within conference play. Capital 4-1-1. So Capital looks to be in good position to at least get it back to the OAC tournament, have a high seed in the OAC tournament as well, as Fisher looking to push it. Will cross it to the middle, but once again, Capital has that snuffed out. Cartmill giving chase for Capital now. But now John Carroll will reset defensively. Taking a tumble on the play for Capital was Spurbeck, but Spurbeck now quickly gets to her feet. Hanijk now handling it defensively for Capital, gets it back into John Carroll territory by getting it to Van de Venter. Now it's back to Hanijk, the Sydney, Ohio native. One of 12 seniors honored before today's match. As it's kicked way back into John Carroll territory, this is going to have to be gathered up by Ganera. And it will be. That has to be a really cool feeling. You spend your time with a program for as much as 4 years. You grow not only as an athlete, but also as a person. Cool to see all those young ladies get honored before today's game. Their parents down there on the field with them as well, some of them with some other relatives, some siblings. As the ball will go out of bounds, and this will be a throw-in for Capital. Just very, very cool to see. And talking with Coach Ogden before today's game, what a class it has been in terms of really putting this Capital squad on the map within the OAC. This senior class has played a vital role in making Capital a huge power when it comes to the sport of women's soccer within the Ohio Athletic Conference, and it has shown within the last couple of years. What with a perfect mark with an OAC play last year. Fisher racing ahead, and it gets by the goalkeeper, and it's going to roll into the back of the net. Alexis Brand ran out of her goal trying to defend against Bailey Fisher, but Fisher able to get the shot off, and John Carroll finds themselves leading 1-0. .35-44 remaining in the first half, and just like that, the Blue Streaks are able to get on the board. With that goal is the 9th goal of the season for Bailey Fisher. A 1-0 lead for John Carroll. And I understand what Brand was trying to do right there. Just very unfortunate as a goalkeeper. You never like to put yourself into no man's land, because if you miss on that play, there's an empty net for whoever is handling the ball at that time as the sun peeks out here at Bernlohr Stadium. Gunnera kicks it away for John Carroll. So now Capital will have to find a way here to respond offensively with the goal by Bailey Fisher. 1-0 lead for John Carroll. Just over 34 and a half minutes to play here in the first half. Fisher trying to push it ahead, but this time Hanike is having none of it defensively for Capital. She will now push it ahead to Spurbeck, but Spurbeck loses it off of her foot, and it will be a John Carroll throw-in on the near side. Capital wearing their customary white jerseys and white shorts. Purple letters and numbers on the front of the jersey, number on the back of the jersey. And John Carroll, meanwhile, donning their customary jerseys in navy blue, white numbers on the front and back of the jersey. Ball out of bounds, and we will have our first corner kick of the afternoon. It will be taken by John Carroll. The kick will come from the far side corner. Going up, and Brand, hey, nice recovery right there. And she is able to jump up and pluck the ball out of the air. Brand, a 5'8" senior from Orlando, Florida. Mass substitutions getting set to enter for Capital, by the way. So we will have all those numbers for you momentarily. Most of them youngins, young players, freshmen, sophomores that have played a huge role for Capital this year. Kicked out of bounds, and it will be another corner kick here for John Carroll. It's very customary that on senior day that you start all your seniors, or at least you put as many seniors into the starting lineup as you can. Normally it is Hannah Klotsky who handles goalkeeping duties for Capital, 5'8" sophomore from Avon, Indiana. Ball is high up in the air, and Brand, once again, able to make another good save, taking it out of the air. And making sure John Carroll's not able to do anything offensively with that particular ball. 32-15 remaining in the first half. It is John Carroll who leads Capital 1-0 thanks to a goal by Bailey Fisher, her 9th on the 2016 season. Thus far, John Carroll has outshot Capital 3-1. John Carroll also has 2 corners, and it's been a relatively clean game so far. Only 1 foul has been called, that going against Capital. And now the mass substitutions come in for the Crusaders as the seniors exiting the field, getting a big hand here at Bernlohr Stadium. Coming in for Capital will be Caroline Hester. Also coming in is Caitlin Semmelsberger. We'll try to recognize others coming in here. Maggie Petticourt also checks in. As Capital tries to get some offense going now. Cartmill getting it over to Caroline Hester. Now Claire Quinn battling for possession. Keeping it in John Carroll territory. Quinn will feed it ahead. Nice touch pass from Cartmill, who tries to find Jordan Fike in the corner, but Fike is not able to catch up to it. For right now, Capital keeping Alexis Brand in there at goal. As Capital will up the ante when it comes to offensive firepower, sending in the likes of Jordan Fike, who's got 5 goals on the year. Carly Murray. She's also been very good offensively with 5 goals in her freshman season for Capital. Foul's going to be called against John Carroll, and Capital will have a free kick at about midfield. Coming up on 30 minutes remaining here in the first half. On a chilly day here in Bexley. Lots of clouds overhead. We briefly saw some sun, but for right now, Mr. Sun has gone behind the clouds. Hopefully he makes a return visit or two just to try to warm things up around here. So the free kick is going to be taken by Monique Henike. Henike wears number 14 on the jersey. Sends it skyward with the left foot. Booming kick towards the goal. Will anybody catch up to it? Jordan Fike in the area for Capital, but it will go out of bounds. Fike not able to get enough foot on that ball. So this will just result in a goal kick for Ganera. 1-0 lead for John Carroll over Capital. We have an update for you, football-wise, which includes Capital. Things not looking good for the Crusaders. They now trail John Carroll 28-0 with 9:51 remaining in the second quarter. John Carroll being led offensively by their quarterback, Meglin. 10 of 12 through the air for 141 yards and a passing touchdown. It's also been a good game for Sean Kakura. He's got 3 rushing touchdowns already for the Blue Streaks. October has recently been a hard month for the Capital football program. Shot on the way, but not enough oomph behind that one as Katie O'Donnell, her shot settles into the hands of Brand. Brand will now roll it back into the field of play to Henike. It's shot down the far sideline, but nobody in purple and white able to get to it in time, so this will be a throw-in for John Carroll on the far side. As well, you can't really call it a breeze since this is not summertime. How about the wind? The wind just continues to pick up here at Bernlohr. I can even feel it blowing in here to the press boxes. Many of us have windows open here at the field. This is definitely the type of weather where you break out the old jacket, get out the good old pair of jeans, perhaps get a warm fuzzy hat to keep the head warm. These temperatures are just going to keep on dipping as the month of October progresses. Just think, Halloween is right around the corner, and then before you know it, we'll get to November, and Thanksgiving will be on the minds of a lot of people. Just over 27 minutes remaining in the first half. John Carroll finds themselves leading Capital 1-0 thanks to a goal by Bailey Fisher, her 9th of the season. Getting ready to check in for Capital will be Chloe Brown and Carly Murray.
Entering the match for the Crusaders.
And right now they will enter.
Chloe Brown and number 11, Carly Murray.
Brown, a junior from Monclova, Ohio. Carly Murray, meanwhile, a freshman from Hilliard, Ohio. Attended Darby High School over in Hilliard. 3 high schools in the Hilliard area. You have Darby, you have Davidson, and you have Bradley. It's kicked ahead. Fike was in the area. This will roll out of bounds on the near side, and it looks like it'll be a throw-in for Capital. Throwing it in for the Crusaders will be Maggie Petticore, the freshman from Delaware, Ohio. attended Buckeye Valley High School here in Central Ohio. Petticord gets it ahead to Fike. Fike trying to get to the ball in the corner, but it will roll out of bounds, and it'll now be John Carroll ball. Taking the throw-in will be Dre Regrut. Regrut, a senior from Dublin, Ohio. She attended Bishop Watterson High School, one of the Catholic schools around the Columbus area. Kicked out of bounds. Watterson, Hartley, St. Charles. Just some of the few Catholic high schools around here in Columbus. Handball will go against John Carroll. So now Claire Quinn, she has a howitzer for her right leg. Gets a free kick from about the 35-yard line. She'll kick it in, has some spin, but hey, nice play made by Ganera. The Chesterland, Ohio native jumping up high in the air and snagging that one. She read that ball beautifully. Under 24 and a half to play in the first half. And now the field here at Bernlohr Stadium drenched with sunshine, thank goodness. John Carroll leading Capital 1-0 here on Senior Day. 12 seniors honored before today's game for Capital. We congratulate them on their great careers here at Capital. Capital hoping to send out their seniors with a win here. .23:45 remaining in the first half. John Carroll with a 1-0 lead over Capital. Ball sent back into the field of play now. Alexis Brand, Jordan Lyle, Jenna Zuberi, Claire Quinn, Becca Cartmill, Jennifer Vandeventer, Monique Kneik, Haley Skukam, Jackie Kelly, Kathy Connor, Melissa Spurbeck, and Kylie Tripp. Those were the 12 seniors that were honored before today's game for Capital. Fike battling for position. Ball kicked up in the air near midfield as John Carroll gives chase defensively, but Capital comes away with it. Let's see what Mary Bushy can do here. Becca Cartmill will now kick it back to Kneik. Monique Kneik, one of the players I was talking about with Coach Ogden before today's game. She has been huge offensively and defensively throughout her Capital career. Now it's fed ahead, and losing it off of her foot that time was Carly Murray, as Cartmill was trying to hit Murray over the middle that time. Now another goal kick upcoming for Ganera. Kneik, a native of Sydney, Ohio. As I mentioned, she has just done it all here for Capital during her career. She has played in 82 matches in her career, starting in all but one contest the last 2 seasons. Second team All-OAC selection as a forward as a junior. She made the switch to defense this season. It is one thing when a player finds themselves being successful at one particular position. There's naturally a comfort zone. You know what you're doing. You know that you are performing at a high level. It takes a very special, not just athlete, but special person to switch positions, to try to fill a different role for a team. And Kneik has been able to do that beautifully this year for Capital. The Crusaders were lacking some depth on that back line, and I asked Coach Ogden earlier today, is it appropriate to say that Monique is that defensive backbone for Capital on that defensive back line? And he said absolutely. She has been a strong, strong contributor for Capital, has 3 goals, currently ranks 5th on the team. Also tallied an assist. That came all the way back on September 27th against Ohio Wesleyan. And Monique, we always have to not just talk about being an athlete, but a student athlete. She will earn her degree in business management with a minor in sports management. And she was here with her parents, Kevin and Stacy. Meanwhile, Jordan Fike, a freshman, sends a shot towards the goal, and another save made by Ganera. Brianna Ganera showing some nice moves in net as she dives to her left to make the save. Jordan Fike, Carly Murray, only freshmen, but they have really showed some good stuff at the forward spots. And again, they're only freshmen. It'll be amazing to see how much they will grow in the coming years. Meanwhile, John Carroll on the attack. Fisher across, and a save made by Alexis Brand. Fisher trying for the assist, but Brand having none of it, diving to her left and making the save for Capital. Lexi Keller trying for the shot that time, but Brand comes up big, making the save. Jordan Fike handling the ball, and now a foul called against John Carroll. The foul going against Dre Regrut. So now Claire Quinn getting set to handle the free kick. Quinn, another one of those seniors honored. She earned honorable mention All-OAC as a freshman. Has perhaps the strongest leg on this Capital squad as she booms it back into John Carroll territory. Fike will take it off of her chest at about the 15. Now it'll try to be centered. A lot of traffic. Murray gets freed. Murray not able to finish the shot as she was just not able to get enough on the shot. It'll go out of bounds off the foot of Jordan Fike, and a throw-in upcoming here for John Carroll. Ooh, a very close call right there as Carly Murray was trying for a shot. Throw-in upcoming here for John Carroll, and that would be Katie O'Donnell sending it in. As I was saying, Claire Quinn, third-team All-OAC selection as a sophomore, second-team selection as a junior. Her junior season finished 4th in the conference with 7 assists and 3rd on the team with 45 shots. A tremendous midfielder for this Capital squad. Can do a lot of things offensively and defensively. This season ranks 4th on the team with 4 goals in the midst of a 3-game stretch in which she has scored a goal. Quinn, an accounting major, accompanied by her parents Tom and Tori earlier today. Brand will let that one slip. Pass her to her left. Luckily, it will settle out of bounds. And now a throw-in for John Carroll. 17.5 to play in the first half. John Carroll 1, Capital nothing. The Blue Streaks find themselves on top thanks to a goal by Bailey Fisher. But Capital trying to get on the board offensively for the first time tonight. Jordan Fike at midfield. Gets it to Cartmill. Cartmill will now switch fields. Will go from near side to far side. Finds Caroline Hester. Hester now dribbling around. And she'll be kicking it back now to Semmelsberger. Semmelsberger trying to get it ahead. It's knocked out of bounds by John Carroll. Throw in for Capital upcoming here. Taking the throw in will be Maggie Petticord. Petticord quickly gets it in to Chloe Brown. Brown sends off a couple of defenders. Now over to Quinn. Quinn trying to knife her way through the John Carroll defense. Quinn knocked down, no call after the contact by what looked to be 2 defenders for John Carroll. Petticord trying to send it in there. Her shot is blocked. Now she sends it in deep. And being ever alert, Ganera comes out of her goal and picks it off out of the air. Tell you what, Ganera has brought her A game today for John Carroll thus far. Very quick feet. quick reactions coming out of the goal and securing the ball. John Carroll intercepts a throw-in by Capital. Ball with some funny spin out towards midfield, finally collected by Katie O'Donnell. O'Donnell looking for some room. O'Donnell will now try to feed it ahead. Capital, however, pouncing on the ball. It'll now roll back to the far side. Caroline Hester eventually catches up to it for Capital. Hester with a long kick with the right foot as Capital tries to penetrate that John Carroll defense once again. The ball will now roll past Hester out of bounds on the far side, and it will be a throw-in for John Carroll. 15-12 remaining in the first half. John Carroll 1, Capital nothing. And it should be interesting to note here, as of right now, no substitutions made by John Carroll. Head coach Michael Marich has been perfectly content with sticking with his starting lineup throughout the vast majority of this first half. Ball will now go out of bounds. The throw-in will be taken by Capital. It'll be thrown in on the far side. Ball now settling towards midfield, eventually collected by Justina Fortson. Fortson trying to feed it ahead as John Carroll looks to add to its 1-0 lead. But Capital, defensively, gets to the ball. They will now kick it back to Petticord. Petticord alertly back to her defensive teammate Semmelsberger. Now over to Fike. Fike trying to get a little give-and-go action that time with Chloe Brown, but Fike not able to run up to it. It went off the foot of a John Carroll player. Petticord once again will throw it in for Capital. 13:55 remained in the first half. John Carroll 1, Capital nothing. As we keep talking about, very chilly day here in Bexley. Some girls with long sleeves on under the jersey. Others perfectly content with the short sleeve as that shot just to the right of the goal. For Carly Murray. Murray's had a couple of great opportunities offensively here tonight, just hasn't been able to bury them into the back of the net. Looking at the stats so far, Capital has now outshot John Carroll 7-4. 5 saves have been made by Rihanna Ganera. Only 2 for Alexis Brand, 2 corners for John Carroll, 4 fouls called against John Carroll, only 2 for Capital, and 2 offsides penalties on John Carroll as well. Petticord, splitting 2 defenders, gets to the middle of the field, trying to feed it ahead to Murray. Murray battling for position, still trying to go after the ball. Murray still giving chase for Capital. Murray being hounded by a couple of defenders for John Carroll, being knocked down eventually. She'll now get to her feet. Ball, meanwhile, will go out of bounds on the far side, and it'll be a throw-in for Capital. 2 shots each for Jordan Fike and Carly Murray. 1 each for Claire Quinn, Becca Cartmill, and Caroline Hester. And meanwhile, for John Carroll, only 4 shots on the day, 2 each for Katie O'Donnell and Bailey Fisher. And one of those 2 shots for Bailey Fisher went into the back of the net for her 9th goal of the season. Fike turns it upfield with the ball, trying to get it ahead, trying to get it in between 2 John Carroll defenders, but she's fended off. Petticord will now recover for Capital and will simply kick it back. It's now back to Hanaik at about midfield. Hanaik now into John Carroll territory, trying to kick it ahead, trying to find a teammate up ahead, but John Carroll is able to intercept the pass. Claire Quinn now comes up with it for Capital. She's on the far side of the field as the wind continues to whip around here at Bernlohr. Semmelsberger. She sent it ahead, but the problem is nobody in purple and white was in the vicinity as Ganera easily comes out of her goal to gather the ball up off the ground. Now she will roll it back in to Polacco. Regrut along the near side. Nice play by Jordan Fike that time as Regrut was trying to get it down the field. But Fike sticks her foot in there and fends off the pass. Fike getting in the way of a throw-in. And now Capital comes away with the ball. Claire Quinn, midfield, into John Carroll territory. Trying to feed it ahead to Bushy. Bushy for Capital. Loses possession. It's out of bounds. And it will be Capital football. Or Capital ball, I should say. Kicked ahead. Murray in the vicinity. Not able to get the foot on it, however. Bushy now giving chase for Capital. Out of bounds on the far side. And a throw-in for John Carroll. These two teams hooking up for women's soccer today here at Bernlohr Stadium. Capital's football team, meanwhile, taking on 23rd ranked John Carroll up in Northeast Ohio. We'll have a score update for you momentarily. Kick is on the way, and Guerra makes a great save. Guerra able to pounce on it. Diving to her left. She was up in the air like Superman and still able to fend off that shot. Wow. And Mary Bushy definitely put some heat behind that one. Some great saves have been made by Guerra today. Out of bounds. It'll be Capital ball. A score update, I promised you. Well, things not looking good for the Crusaders. They are about 34 seconds away from halftime. It's John Carroll 42, Capital nothing. Sam Kakura, 12 carries, 60 yards on the ground, and 4 rushing touchdowns on the afternoon thus far for the Blue Streaks. Capital in danger of losing its 3rd straight after starting off 3-0 with an OAC play in football. 8.5 to play, meanwhile, here in the first half. At Bernlohr Stadium, John Carroll leading Capital 1-0. It's senior day. The seniors hoping to get one last victory here in their last home game of the year. Ball batted up in the air. Guerra loses it, and it's into the back of the net for Capital. A crazy bounce goes the way of the Crusaders. And Carly Murray is the one who puts it in the back of the net for the purple and white.
Capital goal scored by number 11, Carly Murray.
Carly Murray, the 5'6" freshman from Hilliard, Ohio, getting Capital on the board. Tie ball game 1-1. With that goal, Murray now up to 6 here in 2016, and that puts her in a first-place tie on the team when it comes to goals with Becca Cartmill, who also has 6. So a 1-1 game between John Carroll and Capital. 8:03 remaining in the first half. Well, let's see if Capital can grab a late lead here before they head into halftime. Why not? Capital kind of thinking the same way as Murray tries to feed it ahead to Fike. Fike now into the corner. Fike will look to cross it, does so, and that is headed out of there by John Carroll, but it goes off of a Blue Streak player, which means that Capital will get an opportunity here with a corner kick, their first of the afternoon. They will send one of the 12 seniors honored before today's game. That would be Miss Claire Quinn into the corner on the near side of the field. A lot of traffic in front of the net. Quinn raises the right hand. She's ready to go. Sends it skyward. High arcing kick, and Monique Hanaik went up high into the air trying to head that ball into the back of the net, but she came up short. Capital, meanwhile, keeping it in. Bushy sends a shot in, but it bounces right into the hands of Guerra. Going back to that goal for Capital just for a second, what a strange turn of events that time. Earlier in the broadcast, I was talking about how Guerra was making very good decisions when it comes to coming out of her net. And being able to secure the ball properly. That time when she came out of the net, a lot of traffic, wasn't able to secure the ball. It was still bouncing around, and luckily for Capital, Carly Murray was able to send it into the back of the net, which is why we find ourselves tied at 1 apiece with just over 6.5 to play in the first half. Taking a look at the stats now, Capital has really turned it around offensively. They're getting a lot more opportunities at the net. Capital has outshot John Carroll 10-4 at this point. 6 saves had to have been made by Rihanna Ganera this afternoon, as opposed to only 2 for Alexis Brand. 2 corners for John Carroll, 1 for Capital. 5 fouls on John Carroll, only 2 for Capital, and 2 offsides penalties against the Blue Streaks. And now Brand will race out of her goal and collect it for Capital. Ever since Brand gave up the goal to Bailey Fisher, I'd say she has settled in quite nicely, making some key saves, allowing Capital the opportunity to eventually tie this ball game thanks to the goal by Murray. Racing up the field, Chloe gets it to Jordan Fike. Now it's kicked high up into the air by Audino. Back into Capital territory. Semmelsberger collects it for Capital and gets it over to Hanaik. Becca Cartmill in John Carroll territory. Now it's back to Caroline Hester. Hester 3 goals and 2 assists on the season. Hanaik now with a strong kick towards the way of the speedy freshmen, Carly Murray and Jordan Fike. If you're Matt Ogden, you have to be very, very excited about the offensive possibilities for both Jordan Fike and Carly Murray. Both young ladies only freshmen. And a foul called against John Carroll. So let's see where they spot the ball on this upcoming free kick right here. Claire Quinn will take it for Capital. Looks like the ball will be settled. If you go by the markers on the football field at about the 20-yard line or so. So let's see what Quinn does here. 4:15 remaining in the first half. John Carroll and Capital knotted at 1. Quinn raises the right hand, sends it towards the goal, and it is into the back of the net. It went over the hand of Ganera, and Claire Quinn on Senior Day gets a goal. 2-1 Capital. I told you at the beginning of the broadcast, Claire Quinn might have the strongest leg on this Capital squad. The California native coming through in the clutch for Capital. They now lead John Carroll 2-1 with 4 minutes remaining in the first half. What a turn of events for Capital. It was John Carroll who leaped out to an early 1-0 lead thanks to Bailey Fisher, but Capital has responded thanks to goals by Claire Quinn and Carly Murray. Chloe will now kick it back to Maggie. Petticord sending it over to Brown. Brown to Quinn. Claire, now over to Caroline Hester. Hester only a junior, so she'll have one more season here at Capital. As Hanaik boots it back into John Carroll territory. Now a foul is going to be called. Looks like it was Claire Quinn who tripped up Jacqueline Audino. So John Carroll will have a free kick at about the 35-yard line or so. Capital 2, John Carroll 1. 3 minutes remaining in the first half. And Capital with 2 goals within the last couple of minutes. One by Carly Murray. And then by Claire Quinn. But now John Carroll trying to mount a comeback here. Luckily for Capital, Alexis Brand is able to handle that shot by Haley Vinborg. Quinn dribbling around, will eventually kick it back to Caitlin Semmelsberger. Semmelsberger Now over to Petticord. Petticord on the near side, trying to get over to Cartmill. Cartmill battling for position. And Cartmill over to Dre Rut. Quinn will boot it up in the air. Brown comes down with it for Capital. 2 minutes to play in the first half. Capital 2, John Carroll 1. Senior day here in Bexley. 12 seniors honored before today's match for Capital. And they are looking to go out with a victory in their final regular season home game here at Bernlohr Stadium. Petticord trying to cross it, but her shot is blocked, out of bounds. And this will be a throw-in for Capital on the far near side to the right. Under a minute and a half to play in the first half. Capital trying to add to its 2-1 lead before they head into the locker room. Petticord with the throw-in, gets it into Fike. Fike trying to battle for position. They'll go out of bounds on the back line off a John Carroll player. So now Capital will have a corner kick coming up on a minute to play in the first half. Capital has already gotten 2 goals here late in the first half. One by Carly Murray and the other by Claire Quinn. Quinn sends it in from the corner. It's up in the air. Fike trying a header that time, but it will head out of bounds, and now it'll simply be a goal kick for Rihanna Ganera. 39 seconds and counting. A late substitution for John Carroll coming in for the Blue Streaks. Abby Pickaloo, 5'3" sophomore from Hamburg, New York. 20 seconds and counting. The goal kick by Ganera. It's gathered up by Caroline Hester. Hester looking to push it. 10 seconds. Hester will go into the corner. She will cross it, but it will go out of bounds, and that will probably be the last play of the first half. What a first half, particularly the latter stages of it for Capital. They will head into halftime with a 2-1 lead over John Carroll here on Senior Day. Coming up after the break, we'll have the Crusaders halftime show for you. We'll go over all the stats, what transpired in the first half, and we'll get you caught up with scores, other women's soccer scores around the OAC, plus some football scores around the Ohio Athletic Conference, as well as some top 25 matchups around Division I football. All that is coming up on the Crusaders halftime show. Again, it is Capital leading John Carroll 2-1. You're listening to women's soccer here on the Capital Sports Network.
At this time, we would like to thank our sponsors for supporting Crusader Athletics. Beginning with Burger Bagels, the Capital Dining Services, the Capital University ROTC, Bill's Greenhouse, Donato's Pizza, the Marriott at the Columbus Airport, Plains Cafe, and Jersey Mike's. Thank you all for your support of Crusader Athletics. Just a reminder, ladies and gentlemen, if you did not get your commemorative trading card featuring Crusaders Becca Cartmill today, we have a lot of extras, and you're more than welcome to them. Just come up to the press box window and grab your Becca Cartmill trading card today.
Welcome into the Crusaders halftime show. I'm Charlie Danis. At the half, Capital Women's Soccer leading John Carroll by a score of 2-1. So let's get you caught up with what has transpired in this match so far. John Carroll opened the scoring in this game thanks to a goal by Bailey Fisher. The keeper for Capital, Alexis Brand, misplayed the ball, leaving the net exposed. There was a scrum in the box, and Bailey Fisher was able to get to it and score the goal eventually for John Carroll. That came in the 9th minute of play. But Capital would respond in the latter stages of the first half. Carly Murray, with her 6th goal of the season, came in the 36th minute of play. And the ball was bouncing around and not able to be gathered up by John Carroll goalkeeper Rihanna Ganera, which allowed Murray to stick her foot on the ball, send it into the back of the net. We were tied at 1. Chloe Brown credited with an assist on that play. And then later on a free kick from about 25 yards out, Claire Quinn, one of the 12 seniors honored before today's game, comes through with a goal, her 5th of the season. That came in the 40th minute of play, and that has allowed Capital to have a 2-1 lead over John Carroll at the half. Taking a look at some more stats here. First for John Carroll, 2 shots each for Katie O'Donnell and Bailey Fisher, and we talked about her goal already. And the only other player that has registered a shot in this game for the Blue Streaks has been Haley Vinborg. Meanwhile, for Capital, 2 shots for Claire Quinn. We already talked about her goal. 1 shot for Becca Cartmill, 1 shot for Caroline Hester, 3 shots each for Jordan Fike and Carly Murray. And, of course, Murray has the goal. Chloe Brown, by the way, with an assist. No shots on the day thus far. Mary Bushy with 1 shot. and Maggie Petticourt with 1 shot as well. The goalkeepers, 2 goals allowed for Rihanna Gunnera. She has also made 6 saves on the day. Alexis Pran has allowed 1 goal and made 3 saves. Capital has outshot John Carroll 12-5. 2 corner kicks each for John Carroll and Capital. 6 fouls called against the Blue Streaks, 3 on the Crusaders. So Capital leading John Carroll 2-1 at the moment. Let's now take a look at some other women's soccer scores around the OAC. Entering play today, Capital 4-1-1 within OAC play, good for second within the conference. They are trailing Ohio Northern entering play today. And as we get some scores up here for you, well, they've gone final at Muskingum, and boy, it was a bloodbath for the Muskies. Ohio Northern ends up defeating Muskingum 8-0 in that game. Coming up later on today, let's see here. Marietta and Heidelberg have just gotten underway at Marietta. And the only other game taking place today, Wilmington playing host to Mount Union. That game will be taking place at 7 o'clock. They're at the half at John Carroll, and boy, things not looking good for Chad Rogaszewski and his football squad at Capital as they trail John Carroll 42-0. A great first half for the John Carroll tailback, Sam Kakura. 12 carries for 60 yards and 4 rushing touchdowns. Also 2 passing touchdowns for their quarterback, Megalin, as Capital's offense has had a very tough time getting anything going. Thomas Wibbler, 5 of 16 through the air for only 34 yards. The leading rusher for Capital is Evan Butler. He only has 15 yards rushing. And the leading receiver for Capital, that'd be Connor McLeod. He's got 2 catches for 20 yards. Speaking of OAC football, let's get you up to date with some other scores around the conference. The Purple Raiders of Mount Union, they are playing host to Wilmington. And right now, Mount Union looking pretty good. The first-ranked Purple Raiders leading the Quakers 37-7 with 14:55 remaining in the third quarter. They're at the half at Ohio Northern. The Polar Bears leading Muskingum 31-3 in that one. They've just gone to the half at Heidelberg. The Berg leading Marietta 34-0 in that one. This comes just a week after Marietta was able to put up over 60 points in their win over Wilmington. And finally, Baldwin Wallace holding a 20-10 lead over Otterbein with 5:16 remaining in the second quarter. We now switch our attention now from Division III football to Division I football for just a moment. Lamar Jackson and the Louisville Cardinals, boy, they are putting a whooping on NC State right now. The 7th-ranked Cardinals leading the Wolfpack 44-13, excuse me, with 10:45 remaining in the fourth quarter. Number 10, Wisconsin. They're leading Iowa 14-6 with 3:46 left to play in the fourth quarter, and they have just gotten underway at Virginia. 22nd ranked North Carolina taking on the Cavaliers in that one. Those are the only top 25 matchups within Division I taking place at this moment in time. Of course, 2nd-ranked Ohio State, they will be in action later on this evening. They will be making the trek to Happy Valley, to University Park, Pennsylvania, to take on the 4-2 Penn State Nittany Lions. That will be a big football game. And, oh, by the way, I hear a big baseball game is taking place in Chicago. The Chicago Cubs leading the Los Angeles Dodgers 3-2 in the National League Championship Series. With a win tonight, the Cubs would punch their ticket to their first World Series since 1945. The Dodgers, meanwhile, they are wanting to extend the series by one more game. They are looking to get to their first World Series since 1988. Quick break, and then we'll have second half action here at Bernlohr Stadium. You are listening to Women's Soccer here on the Capital Sports Network. Back here at Bernlohr Stadium. Let us begin second half action here in Bexley. Capital leading John Carroll 2-1. If you're just joining us, it was John Carroll who got off to a 1-0 lead thanks to a Bailey Fisher goal, her 9th of the season for the Blue Streaks. Came with an empty net after a misplaying of the ball by Capital keeper Alexis Brand. But Capital responding in the latter stages of the first half. Carly Murray with a goal, her 6th of the season in the 36th minute of play. And then in the 40th minute of play, Clara Quinn with her 5th goal of the season, scoring from 25 yards out on a free kick. As we mentioned at the top of the broadcast, it is Ohio Northern leading the OAC with a 5-1 mark within the conference. Capital 4-1-1. Baldwin Wallace third with a 4-2 mark. Mount Union and John Carroll, they are tied for 4th. Now the OAC women's soccer tournament is going to be coming up here pretty soon. The top 8 teams from the OAC would qualify for the conference tournament. And right now, there's a tie for 8th place between Heidelberg and Muskingum, who are both 1-5 within the conference. And they are right behind Marietta, who is 1-2-3. By the way, that's no joke. That is their actual record, 1-2-3 within OAC play. Marietta in that number 7 spot. Top 8 teams qualify for the tournament. Top 4 get home games to begin the tournament. And the top 2, they get bye weeks to begin the tournament. So a couple extra days rest. So right now, Capital looks to be in great position to at the very least get a home game to begin the OAC women's soccer tournament. If they're able to finish off the season with a couple more wins, they will put themselves in prime position to get that bye for the tournament. Capital, after today's game with John Carroll, their final 2 matches of the regular season will be on the road. They will be at Heidelberg on October 26th and at Baldwin Wallace on October 29th. Ball kicked up in the air, and Jordan Fike not able to finish it for Capital. Just goes right over the crossbar that time, and John Carroll able to avoid disaster. Capital with a near goal that time. Just underway here in the second half. Capital 2, John Carroll 1. Ganera with the goal kick, sends it out towards midfield. Carly Murray giving chase for Capital, but now it's kicked back into Capital territory. By the way, speaking of Capital, things continue to go from bad to worse for the Crusaders football-wise. Capital up at John Carroll today, and the Blue Streaks have just increased their lead to 49-0 with 12.5 to play in the third quarter. This comes just a week after Capital was shut out by Mount Union 45-0, and that followed a thrashing at the hands of Ohio Northern a couple of weeks ago. Caroline Hester on the near side, trying to find Carly Murray. Instead tries to hit a streaking Becca Cartmill up the field, as this ball will be kicked up into the grandstand, way out of bounds. So now it'll be a throw-in for Capital. Bushy will throw it in from the near side. Bushy going over her options, finally throws it in to Carly Murray. Murray now over to Cartmill. Cartmill trying to get it in, but now it'll go off the foot of Maria Plopis, or Plopoulos, excuse me. 5'5" senior from Mentor, Ohio, up near the Cleveland area. As you would expect, a lot of these players from the northeast corridor of the state. John Carroll University, located in University Heights, Ohio. Very, very close by to Cleveland. In fact, that's actually right near Beechwood, as a matter of fact. I find that to be interesting because my broadcast partner for Upper Arlington High School football games happens to be my good pal Jeff Murtaugh. He went to Beechwood and he actually played football over there as well. And boy, oh boy, speaking of Cleveland, they have got to feel very, very good about themselves lately. Everybody already knows about the Cavaliers winning the NBA championship earlier this year, back in June. And now the Cleveland Indians, they are back in the World Series for the first time since 1997. As Fike trying to fight her way towards the goal, but she is cut off by Rihanna Ganera. So now the Indians back in the Fall Classic, trying to win their first World Championship since 1948. They will host Game 1 of the World Series next Tuesday. And oh, by the way, that will also be the night that the Cavaliers open their NBA season. So on the same night that the Cavaliers receive their NBA championship rings, the Indians will open the 2016 World Series. It is safe to say that on that particular night, Cleveland, Ohio, will be the center of the sports universe. And who knows? The Indians still awaiting who they will face within the World Series. Carly Murray, meanwhile, in the corner. And this will be kicked out of bounds. This will be a goal kick for Ganera. Again, I mentioned this during the halftime show. Tonight, Game 6 of the National League Championship Series between the Los Angeles Dodgers and the Chicago Cubs. Game 6 taking place at good old Wrigley Field on the north side of Chicago. Cubs leading that series 3-2. So with a win tonight, the Cubs would try to get to their first World Series since 1945. Harry Truman was president at that point. World War II had just ended. Kick into Brand, and Brand makes the save for Capital. With all due respect to the Dodgers, who haven't won a World Series in quite some time. In fact, you have to go all the way back to 1988 to find the last time that they could call themselves world champions. Wouldn't it be something if the Indians and the Cubs took on one another in the World Series? As I mentioned, Cleveland has not won a World Series since 1948. The Cubs, well, a lot of sports fans know about this, but in case you don't, Cubs have not won a World Series since 1908. Kick will go out of bounds. And it will be John Carroll ball. Boy, wouldn't that be something if the Indians and the Cubs took on themselves in the World Series. That would be a very, very fun fall classic. Two teams trying to end long World Series droughts. And boy, how about this? On the one hand, Cleveland can see 2 championships within 1 year after going for so long without any championship glory from either the Indians, the Browns, or the Cavaliers. Cubs, meanwhile, could look to end an over century-long World Series drought. We'll just have to see what transpires tonight. Back to our soccer match now. Capital leading John Carroll 2-1. With 35:50 remaining in the second half. Capital finds themselves leading John Carroll thanks to some late goals by Carly Murray and Claire Quinn. In the latter stages of the first half, those 2 goals coming after an early goal by Bailey Fisher for John Carroll. Fisher with her 9th goal of the season, Carly Murray notching her 6th goal of the season for Capital, and Claire Quinn with her 5th goal of the season. Capital looking to improve to 5-1-1 with an OAC play. Final regular season home game, trying to notch a home game for the OAC women's soccer tournament. Also trying to get one of those buys The byes go to the top 2 teams in the standings at the end of the regular season. Right now, Ohio Northern, they defeated Muskingum earlier today by a whopping score of 6-1. So Ohio Northern, at least through play today, will keep on holding that number 1 spot within the OAC. Meanwhile, because of that loss at the hands of Ohio Northern, Muskingum drops to 1-6. They were tied with Heidelberg for that 8th and final spot for the OAC women's soccer tournament. Again, the top 8 teams in the OAC standings qualify for the OAC women's soccer tournament. So right now, it's just Heidelberg all by its lonesome in that 8th and final spot. Quinn trying to fire it ahead, but she's not able to get through a wall that time. John Carroll now having some trouble clearing it, and a lot of fans arguing that there was a handball during that play. Now Capital trying to get it back. Murray trying to keep it in bounds, but it'll just wriggle out of bounds on the near side. And now a substitution upcoming here for John Carroll. Katie O'Donnell, 5'3" junior from Twinsburg, Ohio, will check in, taking the place of Dre Regrut, a senior from Dublin, Ohio, on the field. Throw in now for John Carroll on the near side, 33-25 remaining in the second half. Capital with a 2-1 lead over John Carroll. Out of bounds, and it will be Capital ball. Throwing it in will be Mary Bushy. Jordan Fike in the corner. Out of bounds, and it will be a corner kick now for Capital. In the first half, Capital had 3 corner kicks, excuse me. Once again, Claire Quinn will handle the corner kicking duties. She'll kick this one for the near side. Quinn, low line trying kick, and nearly an opportunity there for Semmelsberger. Caitlin Semmelsberger might have had a shot at that one, but it goes right by her leg. Ball eventually goes out of bounds, and it'll be another goal kick for Rihanna Ganera. To this point, Capital has outshot John Carroll 14-6. 4 corners for Capital as opposed to only 2 for John Carroll. 6 fouls for John Carroll, 5 for only Capital, and 2 offsides penalties on John Carroll. Capital has yet to been whistled for an offsides penalty in this match. There continues to be a strong wind blowing through Bernlohr Stadium. Temperatures continue to be chilly, as we mentioned at the top of the broadcast. Temperatures supposedly supposed to dip to the low 40s tonight. It's that part of that fall season as the ball will bounce into the hands of Ganera. Capital continues to put the pressure on John Carroll offensively. As Capital looks to add to its 2-1 lead over John Carroll, under 31 and a half to play in the second half. Maggie Petticord with possession for Capital. Petticord, the freshman from Delaware, Ohio, kicks it back. Capital reorganizes. John Carroll, however, has other ideas. Things are starting to get a little chippy down there. It looked like Justina Forson gave a little hip check that time on the far side. Carly Murray, meanwhile, loses the ball to John Carroll. It is fed ahead to Bailey Fisher. Fisher now with the ball being handled by Monique Hanaik. Now diving for it and making the save is Alexis Brand. 4 saves on the afternoon for Alexis Brand thus far. Getting the start today, 5'8" senior from Orlando, Florida. Nice footwork by Audino, and Audino is denied by Hanaik. Nice defensive play by Monique Hanike, a senior here for Capital. One of 12 seniors honored by Capital before today's match. Chloe Brown trying to get it ahead to Cartmill, but the pass intercepted by Maria Ploplis. Now it's fed ahead to Fike. Jordan Fike will go into the corner. Out of bounds. And it will be a goal kick for John Carroll here upcoming. Under 30 minutes to play in the second half. Capital with a 2-1 lead over John Carroll. And let's see here, a lot of substitutions here for Capital. Jenna Zuberi will check in. So will Aaron Bernard.
Number 22, Aaron Bernard.
As they give players like Brown and Fike some breathing room, so a chance to catch their breath. Amanda Cacciello also checking in for Capital. So Coach Matt Ogden in his second year at the helm for Capital, sending in some fresh bodies for the Crusaders. Bushy trying to make a move. Ball now gathered up by Caroline Hester. Hester sends it goalward, but it is gathered in at the last moment by Ganera. Ganera sends it out towards midfield. Once again, Hester had possession, taken away from her by Justina Fortson. Audino. Now it goes out of bounds. Let's see here. It'll be a throw in for John Carroll upcoming. 28-10 remaining in the second half. Capital with a 2-1 lead over John Carroll. To this point, Capital has outshot John Carroll 16-8. Still holding on to a 1-goal lead, however, as the ball will roll out of bounds on the near side. Yet another throw in for John Carroll. And Samantha Subi will throw it in. It'll be thrown in to Fisher. It's up in the air. Put up there by Maggie Petticord. Ball still bouncing around up in the air before coming down to Zuberi. Zuberi giving chase for Capital. Now it will roll out of bounds on the back line, and it will be a goal kick upcoming here for Alexis Brand. Quickly getting you caught up with some other women's soccer scores around the OAC. We only have one final to pass along to you. Ohio Northern 8-0 winners over Muskingum, as the Polar Bears will continue to be number one in the standings for OAC women's soccer. Pushing it ahead for Capital was Mary Bushy, but she was met by a couple of John Carroll defenders. Another goal kick upcoming here for John Carroll. A game that started about half hour or so. Marietta playing host to Heidelberg. Taking a look at the OAC standings here for a moment. Heidelberg, they are now in sole possession of that 8th and final spot within the OAC standings, qualifying for the OAC women's soccer tournament. Heidelberg on the road at Marietta today. Marietta number 7. So both teams literally playing for their OAC women's soccer tournament lives. 22-27 remaining in the first half of that game, and it is still scoreless between the Berg and the Pioneers. And then coming up later on tonight, Mount Union on the road. They'll be taking on Wilmington. Wilmington, they're in dead last in the OAC in the standings. 0-4-2 within conference play. Mount Union, meanwhile, tied with John Carroll to begin the day for 4th place. So not only are they in the running to make the tournament, but they are also trying to get a first-round home game for the OAC women's soccer tournament. Mount Union and John Carroll both 3-1-2 within conference play. That's your action when it comes to OAC women's soccer here this afternoon. 25 minutes left to play in the second half. Capital still clinging to a 2-1 lead over John Carroll. All of the scoring taking place within the first half of play. Bailey Fisher getting John Carroll on the board with a goal in the 9th minute. But Capital responds in the last part of the first half. Carly Murray, with her 6th goal of the year coming in the 36th minute of play. And then Claire Quinn scoring from 25 yards out on a free kick in the 40th minute. Monique Hanike battling there with Bailey Fisher. Fisher, a 5'8" sophomore from Canfield, Ohio. Hanike, meanwhile, a 5'10" senior from Sydney, Ohio. Regret checks back in for John Carroll in the meantime. As the wind just continues to blow here in Bexley. Boy, looking out not only at the field, but also all the trees within the surrounding neighborhood of Bexley. This is quite pleasing to the eye, if you ask me. We're right in the thick of autumn here in central Ohio, and as I look out, all the trees that have different colored leaves, some with red, some with yellow, some with green. A very pretty sight here. The sun has come out at some points, a lot of sunlight within the first half, but we have now been fully enclosed by clouds as of late, so I guess that would be the only negative to the day. But hey, for the most part, everything went off without a hitch when it came to honoring the 12 seniors for Capital before today's match against Senior Day here in Bexley this afternoon. And so far, good result up on the scoreboard as Alexis Brand races out of the goal and snatches a ball out of the air. A goal kick upcoming here for Capital. 22:45 remaining in the second half. Capital 2, John Carroll 1. Capital at least trying to keep pace with Ohio Northern. Ohio Northern with a win today, 6-1-0 within OAC play. Capital 4-1-1. Their only tie on the season coming to Mount Union a couple of matches ago. But with a win here today, Capital would improve to 5-1-1 within OAC play, thereby further solidifying that second spot, not only a home game within the OAC Women's Soccer Tournament, but also a bye as well. It'll go out of bounds, and it'll be a throw-in for Capital. Another update from the gridiron, by the way. John Carroll leading Capital 49-0. This has been a very, very tough stretch for head coach Chad Rogaszewski and crew. Claire Quinn, meanwhile, strong kick back into the field of play. Giving chase is Bernard. Bernard kicks it back out to Quinn. Now over to Hester. Hester on the near side. Hester battling with Maddie Fisher. Hester now digging into the corner, trying to find some room to operate. Crosses it. Bernard in the area. Bernard trying to turn around, not able to turn around in time. Ball still bouncing around. A lot of traffic within the front of the net, but eventually Ganera snags it for John Carroll. Taking a look at some other football scores around the OAC while we have a moment. As I mentioned, Capital trailing John Carroll 49-0 with 12:39 remaining in the third quarter. Mount Union with a 58-7 lead over Wilmington with 4:58 left to go over the third quarter. 6:42 remain in the third quarter at Heidelberg. The Berg leading Marietta 34-14 in that one. Ohio Northern 28-3 over Muskingum with 4:38 left to play in the third quarter. And they're just about to start the second half at Baldwin Walls. The Yellow Jackets leading Otterbein 23-10. In this particular match, Capital has outshot John Carroll 16-8. 4 corner kicks for Capital as opposed to only 2 for John Carroll. 6 fouls for both teams. 2 offsides penalties on John Carroll. None on Capital thus far. Coachella. Over to Zuberi. Zuberi takes a little bit of a tumble, but now they'll kick it back to Monique Hanaik. Hanaik feeds it ahead, but now it's kicked back towards midfield. A battle for it momentarily. Gets past Semmelsberger, but Semmelsberger able to eventually catch up to it. Quinn in the midfield, kicking it back to Hanaik. Hanaik dribbling forward, now to her left. It's off the foot now of Bailey Fisher. And it'll be a Capital throw-in on the near side. 19:25 remain in the second half. Capital 2, John Carroll 1. This is a presentation of women's soccer here on the Capital Sports Network. I'm Charlie Danis. So glad we could have you along for the ride this afternoon as Capital looks to send 12 seniors out victorious in their final regular season game here at Bernlohr Stadium. Over the head of Hester. Hanaik recovers nicely defensively. And the sun reappears here in Bexley, at least momentarily. Bernard giving chase on the far side. Will this ball stay in bounds? No, it will not. It will go out of bounds. Quick throw in now for John Carroll. Semmelsberger eventually catches up to it. Ball still bouncing around. Now they get it ahead to Fisher. Fisher will lose possession eventually. And a goal kick now upcoming for Ganera. Quinn now to midfield. Out of bounds, and it will be Capital ball. Capital looking to add to its 2-1 lead here against John Carroll. 17:45 remaining in the second half. Petticord sends it skyward. It's over everybody's head, however, and out of bounds on the back line, which will lead to another John Carroll goal kick. Ganera, 5'3" junior from Chesterland, Ohio. Sends it skyward with the right foot. Headed up in the air by Claire Quinn. Hanaik gives chase for Capital. Now it's kicked back up in the air once again. Once again, Quinn getting her noggin on the ball. And Quinn will now kick it back into John Carroll territory. Giving chase is Coachella. Coachella almost getting to it. It will go out of bounds, and it'll be John Carroll. Curious decision right there by Ganera, who came sprinting out of her goal. She was on the near side of the field giving chase to that ball along with Coachella. Luckily for John Carroll, it rose out of bounds, but boy, if Coachella is able to catch up to that ball and somehow get by Ganera, she's got herself an open net. Bernard trying to kick it in. Bernard still with possession. Along the back line, keeps it in. Traffic, still a shot, blocked by John Carroll as Jenna Zuberi was trying to create a goal opportunity right there. Out of bounds on the far side. It'll be a quick throw in for Capital. 16 minutes remaining in the second half. Capital 2, John Carroll 1. Senior day for Capital. Quinn feeds it ahead to Bushy. Bushy ahead of the pack. Bushy trying to put a move on her man. It'll be out of bounds, and yet another corner kick coming up here for Capital. Approaching 15 and a half to play here in the second half, and boy, if Capital could get a goal out of this situation, that would be huge. It would move them closer to another victory within conference play, further solidifying their spot in the OAC Women's Soccer Tournament, which is right around the corner. Only 2 regular season games left for Capital. Quinns sends it skyward. Hanaik trying to get a head on it, but not able to do so. Bushy sends it back in, and it settles into the hands of Ganera. Ganera Booms it back in the Capital territory now. Petticord chasing it back. She'll now kick it back to Alexis Brand. Brand now back out to Bushy. Bushy over to Hester. Hester will now try to reorganize. Hanike, meanwhile, with a booming kick off the left foot. Keeping it inbounds very nicely is Cachelo. But John Carroll now back in the Capital territory. Hester running around, trying to get it over to Kaylin Renicky. Kaylin not able to get it for Capital. Bernard, meanwhile, picks the pocket of John Carroll's Lexi Keller. Semmelsberger. Now over to Cachelo. Cachelo not able to handle it. It'll be out of bounds, and it'll be Capital ball. 14 minutes remain in the second half. Capital inching closer and closer to another conference win. They lead John Carroll 2-1. An insurance goal would be huge here for Capital within the closing minutes, but for right now they have to fend off another John Carroll offensive attack here as the ball will go out of bounds on the far side. Throw in for the Blue Streaks. It'll be thrown in to Molly Zool. Bernard giving chase for Capital. It'll be out of bounds, and it'll be yet another John Carroll throw-in. 13.5 to play in regulation. Bernard comes up with it in the midfield. Bernard will now try to kick it ahead. And boy, she had Kaylin Renicky out there. 5'3" freshman from Salina, Ohio. Out of bounds, and John Carroll will now throw it in as the wind continues to pick up here in Bexley. Brand, meanwhile, will gather it in for Capital. Brand will roll it forward, and Hanike puts a little move right there on Fisher as Capital will try to reorganize on the back end here. Now fed ahead to Quinn. Quinn to the midfield trying to get it ahead to Cachelo. But John Carroll intercepts it. Leading the charge is Dre Regrut. Regrut in the middle. Now over to the left. Shot just to the right of the goal. And it went off of a Capital player, so now John Carroll will get a corner kick here. 12:10 remaining in the second half. Capital still sporting a 2-1 lead over John Carroll. All of the scoring taking place in the first half. We have yet to see any kind of scoring here in the second half of play. John Carroll looking to change that with this upcoming corner kick from the far side. As always, a lot of traffic in front of the net as players get into position. High kick, and it is headed out of there by Capital. John Carroll trying to desperately keep it in Capital territory. A lot of contact between both teams, and now it's finally fed ahead to Renicky. Kaylin Renicky on the near side will kick it, and Bernard now off to the races. Bernard with a lot of room on the near side. Bernard now heading back to the middle of the field, lets loose a shot. But Ganera able to gather it in there for John Carroll. Nice little burst that time by Aaron Bernard, a freshman forward from Cleveland Heights, Ohio. Trying to keep it in bounds was Mary Bushy, but instead it will head out of bounds. And now John Carroll with the throw-in. And now it'll go off of John Carroll, and now Capital will throw it back in. This time it'll be handled by Bushy. 10:50 remain in the second half. Capital 2, John Carroll 1. If you're Capital right here, now obviously you're looking for another goal. But at the same time, they have to continue to play some stout defense, while at the same time win the possession battle. Whenever they get the ball, they have to try to saw away this time here against John Carroll, trying to limit the Blue Streaks' offensive opportunities as much as possible. Ball out of bounds. It'll be thrown in by John Carroll. John Carroll has gotten into Capital territory as of late, but they're still being outshot by Capital 19-10 overall in this match. 5 corners for Capital, 3 for John Carroll. 6 fouls each for the two teams involved in this afternoon's match. That was the kick ahead to Zuberi. Jenna Zuberi from Canal, Winchester, Ohio. Over to Bernard. Bernard on the near side, focusing her attention back to the middle. Renicky with a shot, but that is to the right of the goal. So another goal kick upcoming here for Ganera. .15 left to play in the second half. Capital trying to hold on for a 2-1 win here today, but still have some work to do against John Carroll. Bernard in the midfield to Quinn. Quinn now feeds it ahead. Popped up in the air. Coming down with it eventually is Capital, but now it'll roll out of bounds on the near side. So a throw in here for John Carroll. Under 9 minutes to play in regulation. Blue Streaks looking over their options. Now they will throw it in. And now it'll be out of bounds, and it'll be Capital ball. Throwing it in will be Mary Bushy, 5'2" junior from San Marcos, California. Gets it into Renicky. It'll go out of bounds, and this will be John Carroll ball. Slew of substitutions now for Capital as the offensive stalwarts are going to be coming back in. Carly Murray, Jordan Fike. Also coming back in, Chloe Brown, and, of course, Becca Cartmill. All of them now coming back into the game. All those players getting a nice blow on the bench and now looking to finish off this game. 7:55 remaining in the second half. Capital 2, John Carroll 1. Capital trying to get a win here today on Senior Day. 12 seniors being honored before today's game. Alexis Brand, Jordan Lyle, Jenna Zuberi, Claire Quinn, Becca Cartmill, Jennifer Vandevenner, Monique Hanaik, Haley Skukan, Jackie Kelly, Kathy Connor, Melissa Spurbeck, and Kylie Tripp. Just over the crossbar that time. A lucky break there for Capital and for goalkeeper Alexis Brand. Clock continues to run, 7:14 remaining in the second half. Capital 2, John Carroll 1. Golden opportunity there for John Carroll that goes by the wayside. Kick up by Brand, out towards Murray. Chloe Brown, now down the far side of the field, now back to the middle. Brown still handling the ball for Capital. Brown loses it, however. Ball popped up in the air momentarily. It's ahead to Fike. Fike back to the middle to Cartmill. Cartmill not able to catch up to it eventually, but Capital still maintaining possession, which is key here. Caroline Hester now over to Bushy. Main thing for Capital is as long as you possess the ball, you're burning more and more time off that clock. Under 6.5 to play, Capital 2, John Carroll 1. Strong kick by Alexis Brand now as she gets it back out to midfield. Carly Murray getting it back for Capital. Eventually getting it over to Chloe Brown on the far side, and a throw in here for Capital. Kick ahead. This might be an opportunity right here. Shot and a save made by Ganera. Caroline Hester got loose for Capital, but wasn't able to finish the deal. Quinn now with a strong header up into the air. Jordan Fike comes down with it for Capital. Middle of the field. Now over to Cartmill. Cartmill, she'll load up. And that is saved by Ganera as well. Now across to the middle of the field, and once again Ganera collects it, this time on one hop. 5:15 remaining in the second half. Capital 2, John Carroll 1. Ball now bouncing up in the air, now settling towards the near side of the field where it is eventually collected by Audino for John Carroll. But Capital, give them credit, they continue to put the pressure on offensively. Couple of players knocked down, and now a foul is going to be called here against John Carroll. Once again, the ball will be about 25 yards out. 4:40 remaining in the second half. Capital 2, John Carroll 1. Claire Quinn, she had a goal from about 25 yards out in the 40th minute of play for her 5th goal of the season. She'll take this free kick from about 26 yards out this time. Quinn raises the right hand. She's ready to go. Sends it skyward, and that is going to be way over everybody's head. In fact, over the crossbar. 4:15 and counting in regulation. Capital 2, John Carroll 1.
For the Blue Streaks, number 12, Lexi Keller.
Checking in for John Carroll is Lexi Keller, 5'6" sophomore from North Ridgeville, Ohio. Capital looking to finish strong here, inching closer and closer to a win here on Senior Day. Katie O'Donnell trying to feed it ahead for John Carroll, but Capital comes up with it. Hester trying to get it ahead. Kicks it back now to Bushy. Bushy will opt to go to the middle of the field. Now back to Quinn. Quinn, she will go over her options, trying to get it over to Murray. Blocked by John Carroll defensively. Now back to Bushy. Bushy continuing this great stretch here of possession for Capital. Jordan Fike, meanwhile, near side, trying to cross it into the middle. And, oh my goodness, that was a near goal that time by Becca Cartmill. But some alert play and goal that time by Ganera for John Carroll. That would have been a beautiful feed from Fike to Cartmill. And if that ball had gone into the back of the net, this would have essentially put this game on ice. .250 remaining in the second half. Capital 2, John Carroll 1. Thrown in by Fike. Hester fighting for possession. She'll keep it in bounds, barely on the near side. Now back to the middle. Murray kicking it ahead to Cartmill. Cartmill almost had another shot that time, but it is gathered in by a sliding Rihanna Ganera. Give Ganera credit. She is keeping John Carroll in this match. There have been multiple chances for Capital to put this one away, but the hope is still alive here for John Carroll to try to tie this one and to send it into extra time. 2:10 remaining in regulation. Capital 2, John Carroll 1. Quinn nearly got it for Capital, but instead it's Maddie Fisher who keeps it alive for John Carroll. She'll now get it over to Justina Fortson. Fortson to her left. But Hanaik gets in the way of the shot. Hanaik now bounces it up in the air. Cartmill waiting for it near midfield. Now she's got possession for Capital. Minute 45 remaining in regulation. Cartmill with Fike to her left. Cartmill will now go back to the middle of the field. Cartmill nearly got a nice pass that time back from Brown. But now Capital comes away with possession once again. Minute 25 left to play in regulation. Cartmill showing some nice moves in the open field. Now to Brown. Brown trying to get around a John Carroll defender. Brown still trying to go after the ball. Fike goes in there as well. Eventually Caroline Hester comes in. Shot towards the goal. And another snag for Ganera. Minute 5 remaining in regulation. Ball's back in the Capital territory. Bushy now has to race back, and now John Carroll will have to set up here for an offensive opportunity. Fisher heads it ahead to Keller. Keller trying to cross it to the middle, but Capital turns it away defensively. 45 seconds remain in regulation. Capital can now try to salt away this clock. Brown to midfield. Over to Carly Murray. Murray tries to put a move on her man. Shot, and a save made by Ganera. 28 seconds remaining in regulation. Ganera will send it skyward to midfield. Petticord kicks it back into John Carroll territory. 18 seconds remain in regulation. Quinn handling it now for Capital. Quinn, one of 12 seniors honored before today's game. Hanaik, another one of those seniors, kicks it out of bounds. 5 seconds remain, and that will do it. On Senior Day, Capital victorious over John Carroll. The Crusaders triumph over the Blue Streaks by a final of 2-1. Capital getting a victory for the 12 seniors of this Crusaders women's soccer program. Their final regular season match here at Bernlohr Stadium. Capital still with an opportunity to play at least another home game in the OAC Women's Soccer Tournament. That will be coming up in a couple of weeks. With a win today, Capital improves to 8-6-1 overall, 5-1-1 within OAC play. With the loss today, John Carroll drops to 6-5-6 overall and 3-2-2 within OAC play. We'll be back very shortly with the Crusaders postgame show as we will wrap things up here from Bernlohr Stadium. Again, the final score, it is Capital 2, John Carroll 1. You've been listening to Women's Soccer here on the Capital Sports Network.
For the full recap and statistics of today's action. Once again, happy Senior Day to the class of 2017. You can join the Crusaders for the traditional ringing of the victory bell here on Senior Day. Once again, thank you for joining us here at Vermont Field at Bernlohr Stadium. And everybody, please drive home safely.
Welcome into the Crusaders post-game show. A happy result to report from Bexley today as Capital's women's soccer program takes down John Carroll by a final of 2-1. I'm Charlie Danis. Let's now take a look at the final stats of this game. Let's tell you the scoring. First of all the scoring took place in the first half of play. Bailey Fisher got John Carroll on the board 1-0 with her 9th goal this season in the 9th minute of play. But Capital was able to come back in the latter stages of the first half. A goal by Carly Murray tied it at 1 apiece in the 36th minute. That was followed by a free kick goal from Claire Quinn, scoring from 25 yards out in the 40th minute. Quinn with her 5th goal of the season. That would end up being your winning goal today as Capital holds John Carroll scoreless in the second half of play. Taking a look at the stats here. Capital ends up out shooting John Carroll 27-11. 15 saves for John Carroll as opposed to only 6. Turned out to be a pretty good day for Capital goalkeeper Alexis Brand. Only allowed 1 goal on a misplay ball, which led to the Bailey Fisher goal for John Carroll. But to this point, great day for Alexis Brand, who ends up tallying 6 saves. 15 saves, meanwhile, for Rihanna Guanera. She kept her team in the game, but ultimately John Carroll comes up short today. When it comes to individual stats today, 2 shots for Katie O'Donnell. 3 shots, for Bailey Fisher to go along with that 1 goal. 2 shots each for Jacqueline Audino and Justina Fortson, and 1 shot each for Molly Zuhl and Haley Vinborg. Meanwhile, for Capital, 1 shot for Jenna Zuberi, 3 shots for Claire Quinn, and one goal as well. 5 shots for Becca Cartmill in her final regular season game here at Bernlohr Stadium. 4 shots each for Caroline Hester, Jordan Fike, and Carly Murray. Murray with a goal. Chloe Brown, by the way, with an assist today. Mary Bushy with 3 shots, and 1 shot each for Kaylin Reinecke, Erin Bernard, and Maggie Petticord. Other stats of note: 5 corner kicks for Capital as opposed to only 3 for John Carroll. 7 fouls on John Carroll as opposed to only 6 for Capital. And 3 offsides penalties on the Blue Streaks. With the win today, Capital improves to 8-6-1 overall and 5-1-1 within OAC play. Capital will stay in that second spot within the OAC standings. John Carroll, meanwhile, they slipped to 6-5-6 with the loss overall, 3-2-2 within OAC play. So now Mount Union find themselves in lone possession of that 4th spot, which is important because, as we mentioned during the broadcast, top 8 teams within the OAC qualify for the OAC Women's Soccer Tournament. Top 4 get home games. Top 2 get a bye within the tournament. So Capital keeping their chances alive for not only a home game but also for one of those byes. And they look to be in good position to do just that. Capital will be on the road for the final 2 games of the regular season. They will play at Heidelberg on October 26th. That game is slated for a 4 o'clock start, and that will be followed by a match in their regular season finale at Baldwin-Wallace. That game taking place on October 29th, 2 days before Halloween. That game is scheduled for a 7 p.m. kickoff. This is Charlie Danis saying one final time. The final score today from Bexley, Capital 2, John Carroll 1, as the Crusaders women's soccer program gets a win here today on Senior Day. You have been listening to Women's Soccer here on the Capital Sports Network.